Hello everyone. Today I will explain 5 technical questions from the CCNA exam. Let's look at the first question. The first one is a single choice question about the spanning tree election. Let's see. For the root bridge election, well, not the root bridge, but the root port election process this 2P port. In what situation is this 2P selected during the election process? For example, here we have 1 and 2. Third, we need to select a root bridge between these 3 devices. Then, for example, let's assume that device 1 is elected as a root bridge. As a root bridge, both of its ports are called designated ports, which is a DP port, the designated port. So what can this designated port send out? It sends out BPDUs, which are bridge protocol data units sent outward. Now, the port that receives this port here is called the RP, which stands for root port, referring to this port. So for this port, first of all, the parameter it compares actually, there's not much to compare. As long as it receives what the root bridge sends out, that's enough. The port that receives it is a RP port. So if it does need to compare, what exactly is it comparing? It's the distance from my interface to the root bridge. In other words, for this question, the correct answer is B. Let's check the correct answer. Choose B. Alright, on to the second question. The second question issue is also about VLANs. It asks, which of the following statements about the VLAN configuration is correct? For this question, the correct answer, first of all, the correct answer is A. Let me explain. Before configuring the VLAN, the VTAP status of the switch should be kept in either cyber or transparent mode. Now, regarding the incorrect answers, let's start from the bottom. The reason option D is incorrect is that for those in VTAP transparent mode, it says that information is only kept on the device itself and not passed on to others, such as directly connected devices like A, B, or C. So A is in this cyber state. It sends something piece of communication data to B. B is in transparent mode. In transparent mode, not only does it keep the information itself, but it also forwards it to C. Additionally, if there is a D here, it will forward it to D as well. In other words, in transparent mode, I will forward the notification sent by A to all my neighbors. So this option is incorrect, right? Next, the second one says that dynamic VLANs range from 2 to 4064. First of all, 4064 is wrong. It should be 4094. Also, VLAN 1 is valid as well. So the range is 1 to 4094. So of course, this is wrong too. As for option B, it says that you must use the configure VLAN mode, but that's incorrect. It's not required to use that mode. Alright, so the correct answer is A. Let's look at the correct answer. Choose A. Okay, question 3. Question 3 has a diagram, and this question is a bit tricky. Wait a minute. For this question, let's look at the diagram. It asks us, based on the configuration information, specifically the configuration of 418, determine which of the following statements is correct. First of all, let's take a look here. If this device were the root bridge, it would say, so right here around this area, it would indicate I am the root bridge. If this device were the root bridge, it would be written here. But since it's not written, it's not the root bridge, right? If it's not the root bridge, then option D can be eliminated. It says it's the root bridge, right? So this option is eliminated. If it's not the root bridge, then it's interface. This 2.1 interface is also not a designated port, right? The 2.1 interface is not a designated port, so this is wrong. So based on this incorrect answer, this interface should be called the root port. So let's temporarily consider this correct. It asks us to choose two correct answers. Now, let's look at the other two answers, C and E. Here, it says RSTP, which is Rapid Spanning Tree Protocol. In Cisco, Rapid Spanning Tree is configured like this. So you just change the mode to this one, right? So option E is correct. Now, option C is wrong. This is called per VLAN spanning tree. And by default, it is per VLAN spanning tree. So this is definitely an incorrect answer. As we said, there are only two correct answers, A and E. All right, let's check the correct answers. Choose A and E. Okay, question 4. Question 4 is a bit long. The general idea is that is a network engineer needs to create a multi-vendor topology, which command must be entered on Cisco devices so that this topology can be met. Let's take a look at the options. For this device to discover other devices, since it's a multi-vendor environment, some devices might be Cisco, while others might be from different vendors. In this case, we can't use proprietary protocols, right? The private protocol CVIP excluded, and so B and C are excluded. And the command below has nothing to do with discovering neighbors, so the correct answer is A. You should use the LDP protocol and enable it globally. Choose A. All right, question 5. The fifth question has 3 A's, which is about this certification. All right, it mentions AAA operations, and these AAA operations are reflected in 3 aspects: user identification, user services, and user access. Specifically, it's about the user's ID, user services, and the user control, these 3 aspects. So what's different about this? First of all, these 3 things have a specific order. This is the user identification. You need to know who you are, right? When you arrive, I need to ask you, who are you? You tell me who you are, and only then can I provide you with services, right? When providing services based on your identity, I will grant you certain authorizations. For example, if you are user A, I might authorize you to access the server. Then, as for user B, maybe they are a guest user. They can only access the internet, but they can't access the server, right? So there are different authorizations, and A and B can access each other. There might also be a user C who is allowed to communicate with A, but A and B still can access each other. In other words, different users have different permissions, and that's how control is achieved. So this third step, the process goes like this. First, identify, and then control access when providing services. So the correct answer is this. First, authenticate the user, then perform accounting and tracking while providing the service, right? The correct answer is B. Let's look at the correct answer. Choose B. Alright, submit. If you want to learn Cisco technologies or access Cisco question banks, send me a private message or leave a comment below for technical discussion.